Good day. So today we're talking about negotiations. And no matter what you do, we always negotiate. It could be as simple as what are we going to have for lunch today, or what are we going to have for dinner, or do you want to go to a movie? What movie do you want to see? That's the personal life. Professional life, we negotiate all the time as well. One of the biggest negotiations any of us are going to have is when we go to get a job. When are we going to start? What salary are we going to have? Where's our desk going to be? What are our hours going to be? First thing I want to talk about is within negotiations. Then we'll talk about, in later segments, compromise and conviction, which is a big deal, knowing when to stand and when not to stand. But here we want to talk a bit about the fundamentals of what we do with negotiations. First of all, we negotiate. One of the reasons we negotiate is because we both want something important. We each have an agenda. And that's the first thing you have to understand when we do negotiations is this thing called an agenda. What is our agenda? And the agenda may not be the reason that is given right off the bat. So people may say, well, I want more money. That may not be it. Or I want a promotion. That may not be it. It may be that they just want to be more involved in the organization. And so the first thing that I always try to do whenever I enter negotiations is find out what the agenda is. Why are they really here? The great example I often get is when your spouse or significant other is upset and they say, well, you leave your shoes next to the door. It may not be the shoes. They're upset about something else. But that may be the issue that they raise. And once you start having the discussion, then you find out what the second issue is. So that's the first one is the agenda. The second one is the discussion, conversation. You've got to have a discussion. You've got to have a conversation. In negotiations, once you know what the agenda is, you have to begin the conversations. That's probably where most of our negotiations falls, those first two. Solving the wrong problem, meaning not know the agenda. The second part is not having a discussion, a conversation about the issue. Well, we know that anytime you have a discussion, there's two sides to the story. There's also two sides to the proposed resolution. But the important part is you've got to have this discussion to really try to figure out, well, what is it that will resolve and solve this problem? And once you kind of understand that, you have a better chance of resolving the issue. But you've got to have an inherently unbiased, open dialogue about all of the issues involved, which leads us to the third issue, which is research. One thing that I think I've been known for over the years is the amount of research that I do related to an issue. I do a considerable amount of research, both on my side and the other side. And it's unfortunate that we like to say sides, but that's often what happens. If you're going for a job, if you know what everybody else is paid and you know what the market is, and you know what this industry pays, and if you know what this organization pays, and then you can have all this information, then you're able to go into the organization and say, hey, I just want what's fair. I want what everybody else wants. What everybody else is getting paid. I've done some research. Everybody gets this amount. They maybe have only wanted to pay you less than that. But if you can showcase the research that you've done, you put yourself in a much better position. And that's the last thing I want to talk about, which is positions. You need to put yourself in the most advantageous position possible when you do some negotiations. And you do that by first knowing what you want to talk about. Second, to absolutely having a fruitful discussion without bias. And lastly, doing your research. That may help solve the problem. If not, you're at least along the way to solving the problem because you've followed some really important steps in the beginning. We'll talk more about it as the week progresses. Hope this is a great overview for you. Everybody, enjoy the day.